Despite what boomer Facebook memes would have you believe, the Minions have actually never said, "Be warned, I'm bored, this could get dangerous," or "Don't judge me, I was born to be awesome, not perfect," or the 7 steps to happiness, which are, of course, think less, feel more. Frown less, smile more, talk less, listen more, couldn't be me, judge less, accept more, watch less, do more, complain less, appreciate more, and fear less, love more. They don't say any of that. And how their little yellow bodies got linked to these weird inspirational quotes will forever be a mystery to me. But here's an actual quote from them. but. God, I love them. Butt lovers, welcome back to the lore series. Usually I say this is the series where we look at shows and movies no one else is brave enough to, but the Minions are very popular. A lot of people have looked at the Minions, but not like how I look at the Minions, okay? This is your weekly warning that my videos are not made for kids. In fact, in this video, I have a spicy sponsor. Yeah, in the video where I look like this. Look at me in my eyeball and tell me that's not the funniest shit ever.
Guys, cut it out!
First things first, this movie had to weed out all the people who are not true Minions fans, even though this movie came out in 2015, 5 years after Despicable Me, and 2 years after Despicable Me 2. At this point, the Minions were already solidified as Illumination's mascots. Like I said, right at the start, this movie tests if the audience are true fans of these little banana-loving weirdos by having them sing the universal theme song. Ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na. If you can't handle that, good luck with the other 91 minutes of this movie. Minutes. Minions. Minionets. Anyway, they tried to warn you. Love them or hate them, they truly commit with the Minions. Or so I thought. I just re-listened to it, they didn't sing it with the word banana. Banana. They should have. Hire me as a writer, okay? When I first watched Despicable Me, I was under the impression that Gru created the Minions. But I was mistaken. As this narrator who sounds like he's in a nature documentary explains, Minions have existed way longer than humans, and are always looking for an evil master. Even when they were little amoebas, they continuously chased after the biggest predator, offering their loyalty maybe as a survival instinct. Maybe if I help the big guy eating all the little guys, they won't eat us, even though we're also on the menu. After they evolve and emerge from the water, with seaweed goggles, they help the T-Rex. Well, the only thing the Minions help the T-Rex do is help him get killed. Yes, indeed, the Minions are a parasite, latching onto a host for purpose, getting the host to trust them, and then accidentally killing the host with their stupidity. After they accidentally killed Napoleon, they were run out of town by his followers. Probably because the movie didn't want to touch World War II. Understandable. At first, they seemed like they were thriving in this cave, but they quickly spiraled into a depression with no one to obey. They're not called the Minions for nothing. This tall, sexy minion named Kevin inspired the others to find a new boss. His energy is unmatched, a natural leader amongst these followers, at least in the prequels. We don't really see him in the Despicable Me's. Kevin recruits Stuart, a one-eyed minion with a love of music and attention, to join his mission. Stuart also happens to be the one I'm cosplaying as, can you tell? Bob begs Kevin to join the team. Bob is short and has heterochromia. I never noticed his eyes were 2 different colors. Honestly, mesmerizing. Even though Bob volunteered with great enthusiasm, he was immediately more worried than the others. They make their way to New York City, where there are some big indicators of what time period we're in, such as this giant Nixon sign. A name you can trust. It's funny because you can't. Isn't American politics so funny? So anyway, it's 1968. They get their iconic overalls from a clothing line, and we see many hippie protesters. While watching TV and meddling with the antenna, they find the secret villain channel. This convenient plot point actually matches the Minions' whole vibe. They just stumble into things. They're not very calculated most of the time. We learn 2 things from the villain news channel. 1, there's going to be a villain convention in Florida. The location checks out. And 2, the biggest villain right now is Scarlet Overkill. How did this get a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes with a feminist baddie like this?
Criminal genius.
Hey, girls gotta make a living.
Scarlet Scarlet Overkill, if you're watching, I'm free on Thursday night and would like to hang out. Please respond and then hang out with me on Thursday night when I'm free. Are you ready to get more horny?
Banana.
We get classic Minion shenanigans, such as Stuart flirting with a fire hydrant.
They can't imitate you, but they can't duplicate you, 'cause you got something special that makes me wanna taste you.
They hitchhike a ride to Orlando from a villain family. The reveal of this unassuming nuclear family pulling out guns and robbing a bank actually got me. I thought that was very funny. Honestly, I think the Minions would have thrived being their henchmen, but they had their sights on the biggest villain, Scarlet Overkill. Plus, they aren't interested in a family until Gru's. That would ruin their whole arc in the main movie series. At VillainCon, we see a young Dr. Nefario with his freeze ray, which is the invention we see Gru use in Despicable Me. And oh shit, that's Kid Gru, with his mother Marlena Gru watching Dr. Nefario's presentation. I didn't realize how long Gru knew Dr. Nefario. Also, I don't think his mother would be supportive enough to bring him to VillainCon. Very surprising all around. We meet Professor Flux just for him to accidentally kill himself. We get to Scarlet's villain mainstage presentation, where Kevin is rock hard watching her. Same. This Shape of Water the Deep looking ass interrupts her with no punishment. Like, what is this?
We have one thing in common.
We were born with flippers!
This guy stinks!
The joke would have semi-landed if Scarlet just incinerated him. I like my fish fried. Electric chair! The Minions passed Scarlet's test to be, well, her minions, and now they're on their way to England in one of the coolest jet designs I've ever seen. Very David Bowie, dare I say. They meet Scarlet's inventor husband, Herb, and no joke, they're one of the hottest couples ever. Why is no one talking about them? Scarlet treats these 1,000-year-old creatures as if they're her kids, trauma dumping to them via a bedtime story. Apparently she grew up poor and bullied, which is why she intends on stealing Queen Elizabeth's crown.
There is no Queen of England.
I'm rooting for her, that makes total sense. She spelled out the consequences to them if they didn't get her crown, and what I love about Herb is he watches her threaten them with so much pride, and I can't tell if he's always been a villain, or if he's just going with whatever she says. I'm leaning towards the latter. He's a villain for being a supportive husband. Okay. The Minions sneak into the Tower of London disguised in drag. This is the perfect time to share this information I don't know how to feel about. There are no girl Minions.
Huh?
The creator of Despicable Me and the Minions, Pierre Coffin, allegedly made this decision consciously. Because, quote, seeing how dumb and stupid they are, I just couldn't imagine Minions being girls. It's 2024, girls can be stupid too. Here's the thing, I feel like it would be worse if there were Minion girls, but they were pink and had huge boobs, and their names would be like Bobette and Stuartina. As much as this movie does not pass the Bechdel test, at least we have gay Minions who could be genderless depending on your interpretation. Back to the Minions pretending to be a girl, where Kevin's eyes are the boobs. Hey, my eyes are down here. Stuart hypnotizes the Tower of London guards with Herb's Hypno Bubble hat. Stuart also wrote the song Hair from Hair. The musical would be written by a Minion. Also, I love that LSD trip being used as a period piece. Kevin uses his lava lamp gun to melt through a door, and after the crown is taken from the tower, a chase for the Queen ensues where Bob uses his extendo limbs. But more importantly, Bob removes Excalibur from the stone, effectively dethroning Queen Elizabeth. Scarlet takes the throning of King Bob as a betrayal. I think it's because even though they stole the crown for her, Bob got the praise and attention she wanted.
Tiny yellow traitor!
King Bob lifts the morale of all the English people, and I would go into all the ways, but there's already a video all about that by Luege. I'll link it below. It has no right to be as good as it is, and quite frankly, I'm very upset I didn't come up with the idea first. We see the Minions back at Buckingham Palace. Nothing super notable, except we see Stuart sexually attracted to fire hydrants again. And in this shot in particular, they look like they're Minions with boobs.
I want it all day long. I'm addicted like it's wrong.
When Scarlet enters and accuses them of being traitors, Bob immediately changes the law to pass over the authority to her. I would think that would prove that they're unwaveringly loyal, but Scarlet isn't convinced. In fact, she's spiraling. She leads them down to the dungeon, continues to scold them, and has her husband try to kill them.
Oh my god.
The personality flip can be explained as simply as she's a villain and she's bad. Sometimes I double check the wiki to make sure I didn't miss anything, and it seems I did miss a key factor in the flip-floppiness of Scarlet. You see, let me just read you this. She also doesn't like it when one of the pets licks her face, as shown that one of the royal corgis licking her face, although it doesn't make it so much annoying to Corgi anymore. So that explains everything. Herb is using all these medieval torture devices. He tries to stretch the minions. He tries to hang them, much to the joy of Shafrillis of Letterboxd fame. Eventually, Herb gives up and he ends up taking pictures with his indestructible friends. Even as the minions escape through the sewers, their one objective is to get Scarlet to forgive them. Bob, the most childish of the three, befriends a rat, and guys, can I be vulnerable with you for a second? I don't find them annoying. I find them very endearing. The fact that their self-destructive tendency of adoring evildoers is in their DNA is such a funny juxtaposition to not only their soft and squishy design, but also their personality. When they're not helping to carry out an evil plan, they're very sweet. During the crowning of Scarlet, they accidentally make a chandelier drop on her. This is when she fully loses it. To her disheveled hair, to calling the other villains to capture the minions. This is her final form. She looks even better than she did before. The other villains seen at VillainCon try to capture them with the exception of the family that briefly took them in. I wish we saw more of them. I actually really like this villainous family. They don't do as much with them as I would have liked. Remember the hundreds of minions from the cave? No! Even though they're just as interesting, they're played off as a gag. For example, they briefly worshipped this Yeti. It could have been fun to see the motivation of Bigfoot's cousin, but instead, as usual, they accidentally kill him, and they join the mission of the main three in England. The villains captured Stuart and Bob, and the way Freddy Fishlips, that creepy aquatic man villain, lures Bob into the water by pretending to be a helpless creature, that specifically gives me the heebie-jeebies. I hate this man. This guy isn't seen a lot throughout the Despicable Me franchise, but it's still too much for my liking. I wish he were dead. Who's in the mood for sushi? Scarlet uses Bob and Stuart as a way to lure Kevin to her. Queen Elizabeth does nothing to help, she just gets drunk instead. Classic and canon to me. Honestly though, what's the point of even including her? Is the minion sponsored by royalists? Kevin stumbles into one of Herb's inventions while he's being chased. And guys, if you thought Kevin was the tall minion before, look at him now. He very gently squeezes past buildings, leading me to say once again that when they're not following orders, they're not evil. If Kevin were truly evil, he'd be knocking down buildings left and right with no regard for human life. But the reality is they do care. Kevin saved his, I want to say, brothers? But I don't know if they're related. What is the genetic diversity of minions and how do they reproduce? And here's an even more disturbing question. Have humans and minions ever engaged in sexual relations? While the Queen is honoring Bob, Stuart, and Kevin, as Stuart shredded on the guitar, we see multiple humans swooning over him. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Kevin risks his life to save the other minions, as I said. He somehow survives an explosion. Somebody in my comments compared Kevin to Minion Jesus. I'd have to agree. This image is wrong. Lengthen that body and make him Kevin. After he exploded, the other minions briefly thought he died, which proves that maybe it is possible for them to die, but he didn't. I wonder if he would be able to take the impact of that explosion if he were still his regular size. Maybe he only survived because he was large. For a split second, it also seemed like Scarlet and Herb died, but they also didn't, trying to steal the crown one last time. The only one to stop her for good with a freeze ray is Gru. Gru steals the crown from Queen Elizabeth, and this is how the minions met Gru. Why was Gru in England in the first place? Was he also following Scarlet after the villain convention? Regardless, the minions chase after him, knowing he should be their new leader, setting up the events of Rise of Gru perfectly. To have full closure with one of our previous villains, we even have Bob melting Scarlet's frozen heart with the sweet gesture of giving her this little crown.
For me? Oh.
All is fine and well, but the only thing that confuses me is there's an after-credit scene of Despicable Me 2 where we see Bob, Stuart, and Kevin at auditions for the Minions movie. Now, I know this is only to give a wink-wink, nudge-nudge to the audience to tell them that this is an up-and-coming movie, and they were also very clearly playing around with the 3D elements, which is always fun to watch in not 3D. Whoa, it's like it's coming right at me. Whoa, calm down there. But I want to force this into the canon, and I fear it's not possible. The reality is minions are just in marketing, in commercials. There's even a minion on my toothpaste. Why wouldn't they make this banana flavored? Once again, I say hire me. What you sung to me.
You're way too minion-like, girl.
Wait for it.
That's why it'll never work. You've got me gruicidal. I didn't think of the other lyrics.
So that's why we're married. Since the first prequel was truly only centered around the Minions, I was able to outline that whole plot as it was relevant to our mission here today. But this movie introduces a lot of other factors. Gru's trauma, new hot villains, etc. But here we're mainly going to focus on new Minion abilities, new Minion weaknesses, new Minion motivation, new Minion love interests, and also, how did the Minions not kill Gru, or at least hinder Gru, like they did with their previous bosses? This movie takes place 8 years after the last one, so there's a lot of bonding Gru did with the Minions that we haven't seen. They kind of grew up together. But before we see the familial role the Minions took on in this troubled kid's life, we meet the Vicious Six, who viciously cut off the oldest member after he retrieved the Zodiac Stone for them. They mention how their group is going to be focused on the new generation, even though Nunchucks looks just as old as the member they kicked out. The name is great, but it still doesn't make sense. I can talk about this group and this betrayal for another hour, probably. But this isn't Despicable Me lore, it's Minions lore. For some reason. Little Gru, also voiced by Steve Carell but
pitched up because haha funny,
uses a fart bomb to clear out a theater so they can watch Jaws together. Indication of the time period we're in once again, and also I find it interesting that Gru has to wear a gas mask, but the Minions do not. I thought a strength and weakness would be their lack of smell due to no nose, but this contradicts the Minions' reaction to a fart gun in the first Despicable Me. I don't know what to think. Gru receives a message from the Vicious Six saying that they got his application and that he got an interview with them. The Minions mirror his enthusiasm, and when the hologram disc explodes, Bob does some sick smoke rings.
Wow.
In Gru's brand new evil lair, when one of the Minions holding a rocket explodes, 2 medical Minions rush in, showing that they found a way to mend injuries, and also that they can get injuries. Even though explosions are a threat, fires are not. Gru also asks this Minion named Joe how his family is. Otto is a very talkative Minion, a chubby fellow who's also the only one we've ever seen with braces. He turns red and passes out from holding his breath. So aside from how durable their bodies are otherwise, they work in a similar way to ours. I tried looking up Minion anatomy, and would you believe me if I told you I accidentally stumbled into smut? It was of Gru and the Minions, which is awful, cause they're both a father and child to each other. Like, Gru is a father to them, they're also a father to Gru. Don't make this more confusing than it has to be. I'm going to arrest you. Speaking of Minions anatomy, I don't know where else to put this. I find it interesting that one-eyed Minions can only be seen in the shorter ones. Now here's something confusing. The only one-eyed tall Minion I can find is this guy. Sometimes he's called Bill, sometimes he's called Harold, sometimes he's called John. He's allegedly from a Despicable Me promo picture, but I don't know if that's true. I found it on the Illumination Entertainment Fanon wiki. Fanon, so that's not canon. Where did this guy come from? I don't know what to believe. Why is he the only one of his kind? Plot hole number bajillion. Dr. Nefario was seen at the Vicious Six's evil lair disguised as a record store. And I know it's been 8 years, and I know they met in passing at a convention, but this is evil business, and the little dude is wearing his signature striped scarf. Neither of them remember each other, and they don't even pull a, hey, you look familiar. Nothing. On top of that, I learned that Russell Brand voices Dr. Nefario, so now I'm just really sad. When the Vicious Six dismisses Gru and said, come back when you've done something to impress me, I thought he'd say he stole the Queen of England's crown. That's what he would have said if the first prequel held any weight aside from the Minions meeting Gru. Instead, Gru steals the Zodiac Stone and a chase sequence ensues. He trusts the brace-faced Minion Otto to bring back the Zodiac Stone to the lair while the Vicious Six is busy chasing Gru. Instead, Otto traded the Zodiac Stone for a pet rock he fell in love with. This colossal colossal fuck-up led to Gru firing all of them. A fun Easter egg right before Otto traded the Zodiac Stone, Illumination subtly hinted their next movie migration. So back to our criteria.
New minion love interests?
They once again are seen falling for inanimate objects that look vaguely like them. And also,
how did the minions not hinder Gru like they did with their previous bosses?
They did.
Typical!
Kevin tries to get their shit together like he always does. Kevin's body is larger because he contains one more brain cell than the rest of them. Gru is being held captive by the original leader of the Vicious Six, and the minions have to get him back. Otto is chasing this kid's uncle who has the Zodiac Stone. Classic redemption arc for the cause of all their problems. Meanwhile, Kevin, Stewart, and Bob, the original trio, sneak onto and fly a plane all the way to San Francisco, where Gru is being held captive. We see Stewart turn green and vomit during this bumpy ride. I know these things are essentially just emojis who know very limited English, so these moments are just so we can recognize them as more human. But frankly, how human they've been is alarming. They're fire resistant and have no bones, but they can somehow smell and get motion sickness? They also have butts, if you were wondering. No banana though. You know what? If this video gets to 50,000 likes, I'm getting a naked minion tattoo. The minions have varying degrees of loyalty. Once Stewart saw the jacked guards, he wanted to quit. He didn't care about Gru anymore. And what's funny about this is in the beginning of the first Minions movie, his amiibo was seen rolling his eye, not really wanting to follow the bad guy. I wonder how many minions are like Stewart that only follow orders out of fear that they're going to be kicked out of the group. It's kind of like a cult when you put it that way. As Stewart, Bob, and Kevin are being beat up by the guards, who chase them all the way to Chinatown, an acupuncturist named Master Chow defends them and beats up the guards. She wanted that to be the end of it and for the minions to leave her alone, but after they beg, she teaches them kung fu. Stewart briefly hits on her.
Por smoochy smoochy?
Get it, Stewart? And according to the wiki, Stewart and Master Chow were supposed to have a full-blown romance before the idea was scrapped. Through kung fu training, they had to find their inner beast, which came full circle at the end of the movie when they had to save Gru from the Vicious Six. This is, of course, after Otto returned the Zodiac Stone. Vicious Six used the Zodiac Stone to transform into different animals from the Chinese Zodiac, and even transformed Bob, Stewart, and Kevin into Zodiac creatures as well. Stewart had a kid in his chicken form. What? He laid an egg and had a child all by himself, like Guy Diamond. DreamWorks, if you're watching this, fuck you. Anyway, Stewart Jr. the chick was not seen in Despicable Me's 1 through 3, but was seen in Despicable Me 4, which was the only one to premiere after the rise of Gru, so that makes sense. Also, I only saw that he was featured on the wiki. It must have been a really brief appearance because I didn't find him. What this suggests to me is that even though the minions are very sexual creatures for no reason, they are produced asexually. I didn't touch on Gru's relationship with Wild Knuckles, the previous leader of Vicious Six. I didn't talk about how amusing I found the nun villain, whose villain jet is an organ. I'm not going to talk about how this is one of those sequels that blows the original out of the water so much, to the point where they just want you to forget about the first one. No. I just want to absorb as much useless knowledge about these 1 to 2-eyed, banana-loving goofballs as possible. Despicable Me following an evildoer is not the first or last of its kind. In fact, that same year Megamind came out, but instead of changing due to building a family, Will Ferrell's Blue Man Gru changed for a baddie. Despicable Me made more money in the box office, had much more successful sequels, and broke into mainstream far more. Why is this? You know, some would say that the Minions made Despicable Me appeal to a younger demographic as well, making the movie franchise appeal to a wider age range. The widespread appeal isn't just for profit, it's also for their evil agenda.
It was originally called Evil Me, but that was too ominous for a cartoon. And the movies are about a super villain who discovers how good it feels to be bad.
That's not at all what it's about. I'll never forget that sermon about Despicable Me where he clearly didn't watch the movie. The name alone just struck him with fear. The name Megamind doesn't hold that kind of power. I mean, how could you even make a sermon off the name Megamind? You know, nowadays everyone thinks they have some sort of a mega mind, but no one's mind is as mega as our Lord. Need I remind you of one of the 7 sins? Pride. And don't think I didn't see that eyeliner. Slay, queen. So as always, I can focus on Gru's many inventions, his character development, the way the prequels reference this movie, very much appealing to their own fan base. But I'm not gonna do any of that, because this is Minions lore.
Beep. Oh!
It seems like the Minions having a boss for this long inspired them to unionize, since they're being paid now. I love that for them.
No raises. I'm not going to get any raises.
Also, not all the Minions' previous leaders put them in charge of weaponry. But throughout the years, Gru's trust in them must have increased, because while they're trying to get the shrink ray back from Vector, one of the Minions is encouraged to open fire. Gru sees that the little girls, Margot, Edith, and Agnes, are able to go into Vector's lair just by selling him cookies. So he sets out to adopt them. A bald man adopting daughters? Call this man Daddy Warbucks, which they actually referenced in the movie, but he's evil and doesn't have money, so just call him Daddy War. Anyway, during the adoption interview, the Minions are typing up Gru's resume. They don't have a real grasp of what's appropriate to write on here, and as always, their shenanigans affects their boss's results a bit, but lucky for them, the lady that runs the orphanage is very Miss Hannigan-like, meaning she's mean and she really doesn't care where the little girls end up. Mission failed successfully, as usual. They have found a way to channel their sheer chaos into luck. It only took them 66 million years. I'm ranking all the villains at the end for shits and giggles, like I know it doesn't have to do with the Minions, but I just need you to know that Vector was gonna be on the top because he's super iconic, but he shrunk the sink, and this is what he said.
You done been shrunk.
You mean to tell me he didn't say sink, more like shrink? It was right there. Yeah, I'm docking points for that, and I once again say, you already know, hire me as a writer. The Minions, Tim, Mark, and Paul, are tasked with getting Agnes a new toy. This is when we get the iconic scene of them doing karaoke disguised as a family. The Minions, Jerry and Stuart, babysit the girls, allowing them to trash the place. I feel like Gru has known them long enough and really should have seen this coming. During Gru and the Minions' heist, when they break into Vector's house to get the shrink ray back, one of the Minions is cracked and works like a glow stick. It's very unclear whether this is just seen in this specific Minion or in all of them. When Gru gets no funding from the evil bank, Gru tells the Minions to look for new employment options. And even though their morale is down for a little, Agnes gives Gru a few coins from her piggy bank, and the Minions then chip in for this evil scheme as well. Something I'm not sure they would have thought of if not for the girls. At the end of the day, they are followers. We even see one of the Minions volunteer this crown, which may have been from the first movie. Cute. What's even cuter are these 2 Minions, one of them was shrunk earlier. Anyway, these 2 Minions encourage Gru to see the girls' dance recital, and even puts the ticket in his pocket. The Minions value friends and family, and one thing the Minions never do is hurt someone small, at least not on purpose. If there's a tiny animal or child, they nurture and protect. They do punch each other in the face, but that's a little different. Adding on to my theory that they follow the biggest evildoer for survival and also entertainment. When the shrunk Minion, also named Kevin but clearly different, returns to normal, the other Minion he's seen with for the whole movie lifts him up and kisses him. Could they be husbands, perhaps? And guess what else? The Minions are the only reason Margot and Gru don't die. Honestly, I completely forgot about that until this rewatch. It's easy to dismiss them as comedic relief, but they're not funny. They're heartwarming and essential parts of this family and franchise. What if I cried over the Minions? It wouldn't be the first time. Also, we see one floating in space at the end. The ongoing joke is that we saw this Minion affected by the gravity serum floating higher and higher throughout the movie. So even though they need to breathe, as we've seen, they might be able to breathe anything available in the atmosphere.
Hello?
The Minions are seen helping Gru in his new business of making jelly. So they must be really comfortable living with Gru to not crave villainy like they've been doing since the start of their species. Stay tuned. Gru was recruited by the Anti-Villain League and paired up with Lucy. I love Lucy. And so does this Minion named Dave. Right after she threatens to beat him up, he pictures a whole life with her. Gru begins to fall in love with Lucy too, and if this is his reaction to a kiss on the cheek, imagine how he'll act when they boink. The minions take a less active approach in this movie as they are the victims. The fact that Gru was so distracted by his love life and dad life that he didn't even realize that his minion population went from 500 to 3 is telling. The minions are injected with PX-41, which causes them to turn purple, sprout hair, and eat everything in sight, making them killing machines. In this form, they're called evil minions, which should be redundant if they did their job well. Someone who did commit to evil too well is Dr. Nefario, who helped poison his former co-workers and friends. Pfft, classic Russell Brand. What a fucking jerk. Dr. Nefario teamed up with El Macho. This has nothing to do with the minions, but El Macho's son. Breaking Margot's heart makes this guy even more villainous. Like, damn, you poisoned the minions, want to take over the earth, and you raised that? Even as Gru was helping the Gorls escape from El Macho's evil minions, he somehow found the time to freeze Ray, his piece of shit son, defending his daughter's honor. Oh my god, I've already gushed about how I wish Gru was my dad, but I'll do it again. His love for the Gorls and Lucy is just really sweet. When he learns that El Macho has Lucy and is threatening her, that's when Gru gets very serious. Now, I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying here, because I love Gru and Lucy's relationship, but it is crazy that they've known each other for about a week, and he's already locked in on her safety, barely even thinking of his own family from when he was a kid. And follow my train of thought here, I think this just goes to show how indestructible the minions are, because Gru just saw them completely transformed into mindless destructive monsters, and it seems like he thought, oh well, they've gone through worse. Hell, even earlier in the movie, when El Macho was showing off the powers of the evil minions, we've already seen them do half this shit in their regular forms. The only thing that's new is the eating everything bit and the ginormous teeth. Maybe that's why he prioritizes Lucy's safety over them? Or maybe he just likes her more, even after a week of knowing her. I can't accept that. Here's the problem. The minions are going up against their one weakness. Themselves. The only thing powerful enough to take down a minion is a minion. We see genuine fear from everyone here as they're being chased by the purple minions. There's a scene when the girls are up against an evil minion, and Dr. Nefario just pisses me off so much, man. He saves them by injecting the evil minion with an anti-evil serum, and that's his redemption. But this motherfucker made the evil demon serum. How is he surprised? The killing machine we made to kill is gonna kill? Now you've gone too far. He actually fully said it like that.
I'm happy to create an evil army to destroy the world, but nobody messes with my family.
The minions are supposed to be your family too, you douchebag! Honestly, the casting makes perfect sense now. It's like the voice actor for Jimmy Pesto being part of the Capitol insurrection. Like, guys, the actors don't have to be that similar to the characters, okay? Gru saves Lucy, and guys, their chemistry, it's next level. Them in the water after almost exploding in a volcano is James Bond-esque. The way he pulls her closer, would you judge me if I said this was hot? Because I'm sorry, that's just a fact. Look how close they are to this volcano. Yep, that's what I meant. Temperature hot. That's all I meant. Listen, I love the wedding, I love the minions singing, and I swear, but their version is underwear. It's 2024. We can admit that the minions are funny as fuck. But now that I've rewatched the ending, I'm really embarrassed that I cried in theaters. That's a true story. We should have seen way more of Lucy bonding with the girls for that sweet speech about moms to pay off. Actually, how many times have we seen Lucy talk to the girls in this movie? Oh, once? When they first met? Also, I just realized that Gru's story is just Shrek's, but reverse. Gru's story is just Shrek's, but reversed. Of course, the last scene of this movie is the banana lover singing YMCA. Yeah, it's 2024. We can admit the minions are LGBT icons. What the fuck do you know about the Minion shorts? The short entitled Puppy explores the existence of extraterrestrial life and the very loving relationship Dave the Minion has with this tiny alive UFO that he treats like a pet. Despite seeing the human-made movies about destroying aliens, and despite Despite Gru kicking out the UFO, all the little UFO wants to do is return home. And the minions help with that. It's so interesting that time and time again, this franchise shows us how much good the minions are capable of doing. Trying to track the lore of a bit that went too far is a bit complicated. Because in one short, they're sending a picture to another planet showing that they are capable, and in the next they accidentally poison themselves with berries and hallucinate so badly that they roll around naked in the mud in front of children. That is evil. At this rate, they're gonna have to introduce themselves to their neighbors.
Bello, mi nomatis babike, kela da utagel, topak ka imfif dep offender.
The way these guys speedrun through chaotic evil to chaotic neutral to chaotic good is honestly impressive. In the short entitled Training Wheels, Agnes fell off her bike, so the minions go full dad mode, building her a new, cooler bicycle and training her so she doesn't fall off again. They even beat up the bike she initially fell off of. So I thought, oh okay, they're in mushy family mode. But at the end of the short, when the thief was caught but they couldn't find the gems, guess who stole them from the thief? It was the minions. People think they're one note with the goofiness, but quite frankly, I can't think of another cartoon group that's more morally confused. They're an enigma. Even though fire cannot burn them, the sun can, as seen in the short about that freaky dog, which I can probably dedicate a whole other video to. What breed is he? What is he? For half a second, I thought the short Crow Minions was a Croods crossover, but Croods is DreamWorks. And this short is, in short, just rage bait. It follows the minions Ted and Clark, who look just like Kevin and Stuart. The whole time I thought it was them. I don't know how to tell them apart, apparently. They even act like them, with Ted keeping Clark on task, and with Ted being the more loyal of the two. Their dynamic is even the same. But anyway, Ted and Clark are taking care of this Neanderthal baby, who's a real asshole. Even with these two going in harm's way to protect the kid, she blames them for everything. And that's why she dies in the end. Whoa! Illumination! A little edgy there? Like the ending of Mailroom Panic, where these poor little kittens get the PX41 evil purple serum on them. They start to transform and then we cut to black. Very sad and also upsetting. Their silhouettes look like Incineroar.
Who's that Pokemon?
My persona! What? You don't understand the grit and bravery of the Minions franchise like I do. You think this is a game? This is a lifestyle. Despicable Me 3? Every time I start a Despicable Me movie, I forget how iconic the villains are. Balthazar Brat, a child star turned villain, might just be my favorite. His catchphrase of, "I've been a bad boy," is both a little goofy and extremely menacing. Now back to the Minions. Yes, we see their Riz once again, as Jerry and Dave both party with beautiful women. All the other Minions quit after Gru is fired from the Anti-Villain League and refuses to go back to villainy. All the Minions storm off to follow somebody actually evil, except for Jerry and Dave, the two Minions we saw earlier, who just got back after everyone left. Gru tells them they got a promotion and they are elated, ripping off their clothes, rubbing their butts together, and rolling their eyes to the back of their heads. Horny bastards. Stop being turned on for 2 seconds challenge. Now, the main plot of this movie is Gru meeting his twin brother Drew, also voiced by Steve Carell, haha funny, and he had no idea his twin brother existed until now. This lines up with the abuse we've seen from Gru's mother, so even though the secret sibling thing is an overdone trope, it works really well here. Drew is rich and has beautiful blonde hair, but experienced similar abuse from their father, who was a villain. Their villain father was super proud of Gru, while Drew was a disappointment to him. Drew now looks to Gru for advice on how to be a villain, and Gru agrees to teach him, but what he doesn't tell Drew is that he's just using him to take Balthazar Brat down and get his job at the Anti-Villain League back. You feel for both of these brothers a lot. I'm actually not supposed to talk about any of this. Back to the Minions. The Minions who quit on Gru were in jail and really running shit in there. They're snapping their fingers, very West Side Story-like, and all the other prisoners feared them. That is until Mel, the balding Minion who quit first, started remembering all the good times he had with Gru. How much Gru genuinely cared for them. Have any bosses before Gru even bothered to learn their names? and tell them apart, they have the realization that they can accept this love instead of hate, and in that way, Gru and the minions act as parallels. They both feel like they were born to accept the worst, but break free from that. The minions' only weakness, as I always say, are themselves. Because Mel led all of them both times. The formula always goes, one of them has an idea and the others follow. Only one can be the brains of the operation at a time. The way they escaped from jail was very elaborate, and of course one of them was left behind. For comedy, everyone say haha, everyone say hee hee. So together they take down Balthazar Bratt, who was an incredible villain, by the way. Definitely had the biggest plan and got the farthest. Also, do I even need to say it? Would! Obviously! Lucy finally gets her lovely mom arc, and even though the minions are back with Gru, they can get up to evil shenanigans with his brother Drew, who we do not see in the next movie. One of the first things we see in this movie are the minions driving their own little Tesla. This might be one of the most devious things we've ever seen them do. Also, biggest shock right at the start, during the School of Villainy reunion that Gru is attending, one of the minions gets stuck in Jell-O. Jell-O! They're impervious to fire, but their weakness is Jell-O. Sure. When the villain Maxime is set on destroying Gru, he escapes from prison and the Anti-Villain League relocates Gru, his wife Lucy, and his girls. And Gru and Lucy's new baby boy, Thelonious Gru Jr. They get new identities, they have to stay very inconspicuous, so that nothing can give them away. This is why they have to get rid of Agnes's pet goat that she got in the third movie. I almost cried, this was so sad. But somehow, they let them keep 3 minions as if that isn't the biggest giveaway. When the Anti-Villain League said they had big plans for the other minions, I thought they'd use their DNA and study their indestructibleness, like Maxime did with his cockroaches. The villain Maxime, voiced by Will Ferrell, has hundreds of cockroaches as his minions. And it seems like they're setting up parallels between the minions and cockroaches, which is why I thought I'd see some sort of human-minion hybrid, like how Maxime is a hybrid with his cockroach minions. But no, we just get super minions. They make them go through a transformation, much like Despicable Me 2, Minions, and Minions Rise of Gru. But this time, they're known as the Mega Minions. A spit in the face to DreamWorks, as they also have the voice of Megamind on the cast. And I support them. Dave has super strength, Tim is stretchy, Mel has laser eyes, Jerry is a rock man, he just looks like the Thing from the Fantastic Four, and Gus has the power of flight.
Who you calling Pinhead?
The Anti-Villain League is incredibly sketchy, because before this was successful, they said the minions might explode. I don't think this is possible given their durability that we've seen throughout the series, but I could be wrong. The entire time I was also convinced they didn't have bones, and this movie gave me this. So, also, haha, Minion ate banana whole. But like I was saying, the Anti-Villain League is incredibly evil. Are you kidding me? They were willing to kill part of Gru's family as part of an experiment. The same organization that said that they would protect them. Comic relief or not, that's crazy that the good guy organization would say that. The 3 minions that are with Gru in the new house are Phil, Ralph, and Ron. According to the wiki, Ron was initially supposed to be part of the super group and have super speed, but instead he's stuck taking care of Gru Jr. I hate Gru's new kid, Gru Jr. I hate movies that make me hate kids. Gru Jr. is a menace. This movie lays it on pretty thick with the Gru torture. In the words of my king, the original Thelonious Gru, I like it, but not a lot. I don't like it. This whole movie is doing too much. Poppy and her parents are completely unnecessary characters. The karate plot was useless. The reference to that viral honey badger video from 10 years ago felt like a fever dream. Like, I can't believe this is real. I'm not even joking when I say the minions were the best part of this movie. The fact that the super minions are just permanently like that, hilarious. The laser-eyed minion swoons over this lady that gave him a kiss on the cheek after saving her cat, but due to his horniness, he almost lasers her and the cat. So when she was in the angry mob at the end, I was a bit confused. So let me just reenact the interaction me and my husband had. Why is she mad at him?
I mean, he did almost kill her and her cat.
But he didn't. I didn't know Minions had ride or dies like that, and that I was one of them. But do I care if they save rip-off Jack Jack? No, I don't. The one good thing was all of the villains singing in jail at the end. It was very cute. But the lyrics, nothing ever lasts forever, really stick with me. This is the ending to the Despicable Me franchise. They can make Minions content forever. In fact, the next Minions movie, I think is coming out in 2027. But this has to be the last Despicable Me. I wish the whole movie was better, but that ending gave big finale vibes. This is lasting forever. In the short Game Over and Over, we finally see Stuart and Kevin and briefly Bob again. For whatever reason, there's a remote control that controls the minions in Gru's inventions. Maybe when Gru was getting desperate trying to teach them, he threw this together. I can see that, actually. Anyway, this whole short is Stuart torturing Kevin, and then Kevin finally getting back at him at the end. The minions will always mess with each other. I think it's how they get their evil kick, while being the world's best nannies and having a boss that isn't evil anymore. Benny's birthday was cute. It was a Groundhog's Day, but with a terrible birthday. In the deleted scene Minions at Home, we see something new about their weird little bodies. This one wants to rock being bald like Gru, but gets frustrated when his hair grows immediately back. So wait, how did Mel do it then? Now listen, I'm not gonna go through every single choice in my tier list, but let me explain why Despicable Me 4's villain came in dead last place, because there is nothing I hate more than wasted potential. You had Will Ferrell, the voice of Megamind. You could have done something hilarious with him, but instead I was left wanting more. Because you had these useless side plots, we barely got to see any of him. Also, his power being literally indestructible, he should have been up there with the purple minions. Because that little duet at the end felt entirely unearned. I forgot what this guy's name is. French cockroach dude. Whose wife is voiced by Sofia Vergara, who I didn't even put on this fucking tier list. I forgot about her. I honestly did. Balthazar Brat is one of my favorite characters, maybe of all time. He's so funny. Honestly, I think Vector should be higher up, but I was also like, I wasn't just talking about the iconicness. I also wanted to rank how successful they were in their evil plots. Vector was taken down just a bit too easily. If it was based on iconicness, I think he would be ahead of El Macho. I just think El Macho's evil plan worked better. The reason that the evil family from the Minions are mid-tier, even though I love them as characters, is we didn't get to see them that much. I wanted to see more of them, and also I don't think they're that evil. I mean, they robbed a bank. Like, it kind of pales in comparison to Balthazar Brat, who probably killed people. I shouldn't even be talking about this. This isn't about the Minions. This is Minions lore. Thank you so much again to Love Honey. Be sure to use my code Athena Calendar for exclusive discounts. I really hope you enjoyed the Minions lore. Be sure to subscribe if you did. I have a lot of fun uploads planned for December and for 2025. I just have a lot of plans. I'm plotting. Have a great day. Bye!
I'm not like other girls cause my hair is pink, and everyone in Arizona made a real big stink.